Welcome or welcome back to Living in the Pacific Northwest with Hal Byrd. I'm Hal Byrd.
And I'm JB.
And tonight we're heading to Kiggins Theater for a conversation
about wildfires in the Northwest.
So you put this on a calendar.
Yes.
What made you want to check this out?
It's just a unique event. Kiggins is a great theater. It's a Depression-era movie theater. It's actually on a National Historic list of monuments. And they always have like some weird, obscure productions and events going on. So I saw it, sounded like something I'd like to learn about, the history of wildfires and maybe prevention going forward. So something we figured we would check out.
And a topic that a lot of people who are moving here ask me about.
That a lot of people moving here ask you about.
As a former Californian, to all my fellow, about to be former Californians who want to know about wildfires. So
we'll come along, we'll get some footage on the inside of the theater and then fill you in on what we learned afterwards.
Yeah.
See you.
So we're in downtown Vancouver. It is about 4:30 in the afternoon. So if you park on any of the city streets downtown, so not parking lots or anything, it is only paid parking during business hours. So after 6 p.m., it's free parking. And there's an app, so all you have to do is find the zone for this one. The app's called Parking Kitty. So you can go in the app, select your credit card, and pay for it. It's super easy. So when you move here, I highly recommend downloading the Parking Kitty app.
On October 9th, 2022, a passerby driving in the forest near a large mountain in Ashubal took out a cell phone and recorded a video of a white SUV near a plume of smoke and burning trees. Someone had been firing pyrotechnics, and it caused a wildfire known as the Nakia Creek Fire. When firefighters arrived, they quickly contained the fire in 157 acres. But dry east winds began to sweep into the hills, and the fire expanded, growing about 2,000 acres within hours. Over the next week, thousands evacuated their homes. They went to shelters and homes of friends and family. And almost 35,000 people were being told to prepare to evacuate. Those people here in Southwest Washington, a place with old-growth forests, overcast skies, short summers, and a growing population, found themselves in a wildfire-prone area. In 2022, there were 50 fires that burned through 54,300 acres in western Washington. It was the largest wildfire season that this side of the state has experienced since we began record keeping in 1994. But wildfires aren't all doom and gloom. They're a natural function in nature. They destroy pests, they allow for some seeds to germinate, and there are always ways to deal with the growing risk. Here's a clip of a video from the National Fire Protection Association that can tell you how to protect your home during a wildfire.
Luckily, many of the things you can do are pretty easy. Check your eaves, walls, and foundation for cracks or openings. You don't want embers getting into your house. Clear your gutters of leaves and needles regularly. Check out the first 5 feet from your foundation, deck, patio, or porch. There should be nothing that will burn next to your walls or under your deck. Flames contacting your house are a bad idea. Any place that you see leaves or needles piling up from where the wind blows them is where embers will go during a wildfire. These are the places to pay attention. Home improvement projects like screening your vents with metal mesh or replacing wooden attachments like decks or fences with non-flammable alternatives will take you a bit longer and may cost more, but will be extremely effective in increasing your home's chances of survival. When you're ready to replace your roof or your windows, cost-effective, fire-resistant alternatives are a great choice.
And I also wanted to thank the Cowlitz Indian Tribe, the Cowlitz Tribal Foundation for being the main sponsor for our environmental reporter, who has written hundreds of stories since we launched this community-funded journalism program. So thank you so much to the Cowlitz Tribal Foundation. So the Nakia Creek Fire was certainly one of the biggest stories we covered in 2022. Our reporting team wrote 34 stories about the Nakia Creek Fire. And we actually won a major journalism award for our coverage of it too. And it's the reason we decided to pick wildfires for this Columbian Conversations event. Since we decided to pick it, we've seen more wildfires, certainly in Clark County. In August, we saw the house in the center burn, along with 32 acres that surrounded it. And then a storm rolled through the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest, causing hundreds of lightning strikes and 45 fires. So this is certainly a growing issue here in Clark County, and we thought it would be appropriate to gather a panel of experts to be able to talk about it. So a quick round of applause for the panel who came from all over.
Hello, I'm Hilary Franz. I am your Commissioner of Public Lands for Washington State. I have had this role for going on now 8 years, and I also lead the state's wildfire fighting.
Marc Titus, I'm a Community Resilience Coordinator for Washington DNR. I work with communities to help, basically the last part of that video. I've also spent 25 seasons as an aviation manager and 5 years on a Type 1 incident management team.
Hey there, my name is Michael McNorvell. I'm a wildfire resilience technician for Underwood Conservation District. We cover the area of Skamania County and the western imperative of Kiggins County. Very similar to Mark's position with DNR, helping improve community resilience through defensible space actions like you saw from NFPA.
I'm Scott Johnson. I'm the emergency manager for Clark Regional Emergency Services Agency. When those 35,000 people were called, that was me. Sorry. We work with the residents of Clark County to help people prepare for and respond to emergencies.
I'm John Nohr, the Fire Chief of Clark-Cowlitz Fire Rescue. We cover from 179th up to Woodland and from the river over towards Battleground. Cities of the center, Woodland, Ridgefield, the Cowlitz Indian Reservation, and about 120 miles of unincorporated Clark County.
Mark, a lot of your job is around going to people's houses and helping them understand the defensible space. We saw the video, but can you expand on that a little bit more? What do people need to know about being prepared for wildfires, and who in Clark County needs to know it?
The first thing I want you to hear, it isn't a wall of fire that's going to take your house out, like you see on the news, like you see in the Rocky Mountains or the desert Southwest, where you see a 150-foot wall of flames headed towards communities or homes or infrastructure, what have you. That's not what you're going to see. You're going to see smoke, and you're going to see little pockets of flames, and maybe you're going to see some trees torching up here and there, what have you. And if it's an east wind event, you're going to see smoke laying flat on the ground because it can't get up. That's going to impact your visibility, all of these kinds of things. But the message I want you to hear is it's not a wall of fire that you need to be worried about. It's the tiniest little ember that could land and hold in your hand, that lands in a receptive fuel bed no larger than what you could hold in your hand, that will take your house out. That is the Institute of Business and Home Safety has shown that. And Jack Cohen in the video, he's the one who started it. So this is proven science. That first 5 feet, we used to say, if you've got stuff here and stuff there, find some fire-resistant plants, put it in there, maybe some bark. Bark doesn't burn. Yeah, it does. Okay? And we used to say that, but now it's definitive. The IBHS new guidelines say absolutely zero flammability in the first zilch, nothing flammable within the first 5 feet. Why is that? Because when you're evacuated and chief has run out of his engines and the Type 1 team hasn't showed up yet and everybody's scrambling around, there is no defendable person in your defensible space. It needs to be survivable space. Do you think flames are a good thing? Like, I'm flammable. You don't see me, seeking out fire and standing really close to a big, huge bonfire. I imagine it's the same as most everybody in here. Okay? Your house is no different. You have to start thinking about your house as though it was something that could ignite. And if you remove its ignitability, it can't burn. I have never in my life seen something spontaneously combust. It needs some sort of ignition. And so when you're home tonight, don't look at the wall of timber or the wall of trees and the mess of blackberries. No, don't look at that because that's too much. Instead, walk 6 feet out from your house, turn around, look at the ground, and that's where you need to start. Okay?
So just real quick about the Eagle Fire, and just fires in general out in the old growth forest. Michael, how long does it take for those forests to grow back?
It can be a matter of decades for trees to sort of reestablish and dominate an environment. For them to get to the most resistant and resilient stage in terms of wildfire, which is the late successional old growth, really complex branching, it takes more than 70 years, depends on the place, but it's meant almost 100 years before you see that kind of resistance to wildfire.
So, Scott, I wanted to ask about CRESA. So many people here might not know what CRESA is, but obviously very important. Talk a little bit about what you all do, and you deal with house fires and you deal with wildfires. How has that scale changed in the past years?
So, Clark Region Emergency Services Agency, CRESA, we're the 911 dispatching and emergency management agency for Clark County. So the other side of the building has the easiest work number in the world to remember. Please tell me you all know it, it's 3 digits. I work on the emergency management side. We create plans to support first responders. We work with the public to help educate them on what they can do to increase their resilience. You can go to our website, please do, CRESA911.org. Sign up for public alerts. It's free. You've already paid me for it. That allows me to notify you if there's something bad in your neighborhood. So these are the type of things that we do to help you understand what's going on in your environment. When you sign up for public alerts, you can put multiple locations. You can put where you work, where you live, where your kid goes to school. Give me your cell phone number, you give me your email. You get messages on multiple platforms. If something's happening in the urban environment, we'll let you know. If it's happening in the rural environment, it helps give you situational awareness so you can make those decisions. We have a 24/7 duty officer. We had about 98 calls last year. And that's where we're telling people that there's bad things going on so that you can be prepared.
How many people have registered for alerts, even like percentage-wise in the wildfire areas?
We have a population of just shy of 520,000 people in Clark County. I have 37,000 people who registered for public alerts. And we're considered a rock star in the state of Washington.
So that kind of brings me to Michael. Can you talk a little bit about Clark County and the forests specifically here as an ecologist? And I'm curious to know what we can expect in the future with climate change and fighting wildfires in that situation.
Really good question. Thank you. In terms of Clark County's forests and what we call fire regime, the pattern, the overarching pattern of fire on the west side of the Cascades, which includes Clark County. Fire is infrequent in comparison to something like the east side of the Cascades, where we sort of expect on the order of 5 years to 30 years to 50 years, fire will return to a forest. On the west side of the Cascades, that's much less frequent. Fire comes back in the order of 150 years, 500 years, sometimes 1,000 years before fire returns to a forest. So what you get is really long intervals between fires where a lot of biomass builds up. And these are productive forests. There's plenty of moisture available to them through precipitation for them to grow really dense, really big. And the conditions necessary for fire in a West Cascade forest are summer drought, synoptic east wind, so much like the east wind event that pushed the Nakia Creek fire. A very similar thing happened during the Yakul burn in 1902, which was called the Devil Wind. What it was a wind from the east side of the Cascades that was very dry. And that not only dries out fuels, it also accelerates burning. So wind is super important for the West Cascades fires. And then the last piece is ignition, just a source of fire. And most often in the West Cascades, that's a human ignition. We get far less in terms of lightning strikes or volcanic eruptions that start fires as compared to the east side. The issue of climate change. We sort of live in this very privileged position in the West Cascades, just insofar as the effects of climate change on our fire regime won't be as dramatic as soon as in other forests, like East Cascade forests, like Rocky Mountain forests. But what that does mean is that those conditions of super dry summers, allowing fuel to be available to burn, are going to become likely more common. And so in terms of looking at the next 100 years, we may see an increase in the frequency of West Side fire, simply because those conditions that allow fire to occur on this side of the Cascades are going to become more frequent.
So for you guys out there, it's the high wind days that you need to worry about. That you as homeowners and residents, those are the days you need to worry about. Why? Because wind is the oxygen that fuels the fire. And the 40 aircraft that my boss here has and deploys across the state rather effectively and gets 95% of the fires at less than 10 acres before the next day. Not on wind days. Because those aircraft, generally speaking, can't fly. Okay? It's the days that, it's the 5% of the fires that we lose that are the catastrophic events, and those only happen on high wind days. Lahaina, gale force winds. The winds in Spokane, 50, 60, 70 mile an hour winds. When you hear a high wind warning, that's when you need to start really being concerned. Aircraft can't fly when those winds are blowing.
So I wanted to kind of just ask anyone on the panel, what are the strategies going to be to fighting fires in Clark County and the specific South Washington area in the coming future?
So right now, there are 8 fire departments in Clark County, and we all work very closely. We train together as one central, I would say the answering point, one dispatch center. So when a call comes in, we all use something called mutual aid, so we help each other out. During times where we expect a fire, a red flag day, low humidity, high wind, high heat, most of the departments in the county staff up and they put additional units on. So that's kind of a response. So we're ready to respond to a wildland fire, a grass fire, a rapidly changing fire situation. Also, what we're doing is trying to educate the public about making sure that their houses are fire safe, like the video showed, getting all your fuels back, not having anything that burns right up against the foundation, not having bark dust or tall grasses up against your siding, trying to make fire safe communities in that regard. We've changed it to where most of the districts now have what we call a brush unit. So it's a lightweight rig. It's not like an old, like a standard fire engine that can't go off the road. So we are reacting by having people red car trained or wildland firefighter trained, getting the right equipment, lighter gear for fighting a wildland fire versus the heavy gear that we use in a structure fire, and training together.
So to complement that now at the state level, where we're fighting these fires in every corner of the state, we're taking a 3-pronged approach. First is actually responding to those fires and making sure we have resources available. Like I said, when I started in 2017, we had 8 Vietnam War helicopters. That's all we had to fight fires, which is a big state. It doesn't go very far. Last year, we had 40 air resources. We pre-positioned them in areas of the state where we knew we were likely to see more fires based on the forest and the fuel load, based on drought conditions, based on wind conditions, based on dryness, and also based on how many people are actually living in proximity to those forests, because obviously life is the first thing we're trying to protect. And we blanketed the state, which is why we were so successful, and basically within 15 to 30 minutes we have 8 to 10 air resources on a fire quickly. I remember a Vancouver fire where we had one of our rotors on it, which I think has been unprecedented in a Vancouver setting for probably 100 years plus. And so first is having those resources. Initial attack, the moment smoke is in the air, we have enough air resources and we're going to run quickly. Second is having enough of the ground troop, not only our own resources, but also partnering in the mutual aid with local fire districts to be able to put them out within 90% within 10 acres. One of the things that happens in fire is time. And time is everything. The quicker you spot it, the quicker you can put it out. So we have started to use new technology, like we partner with T-Mobile and Pano AI, where we are positioning cameras in areas so that we can be able to get the longitude and latitude of a fire. Where it used to be those lookout centers and detecting somebody seen with smoke, now it's cameras. We have 21 currently in the state. It's not very much, but I am looking to try to increase that to over 80 air resources. 80 panel cameras that sends the message down into our... Huh?
With their name Clark County.
I don't have that answer right now. I apologize. I'll find out. I operate it, so I apologize. I'm a little consumed with legislative session right now, give my 25 million back. But, so wildfire response is everything. Being able to get on that fire quickly, we've proven the model out. Now we just got to keep the funding and make sure we're keeping up with the growth of fires. The second is forest health and fuels reduction. That's the work that you were talking about. We developed a forest health plan for Central and Eastern Washington because that's where the crisis has been over the last decade. We set a goal to restore 1.25 million acres over 20 years. That's federal, state, tribal, and private lands. Federal being the largest of that piece. We are just 6 years in, 600,000 acres have been treated, so we're halfway to our goal in 6 years. We will achieve our goal in 10 years.
So, sorry to interrupt, you said Central and East
Central and
Washington.
Eastern Washington, right? I know where we are. Trust me, I know this state. I know where Dot Washington is. I could pass any geography test when you're a statewide elected and you fight fires. What we don't have, see, thank you for teeing me up, is a forest health plan for West Side. We started with Central East because that's where most of the fires were happening. Now you see the shift that's happened in the last 2 years where more and more fires now west of the Cascades. We are working on developing that. The challenge we're going to have, and I'm just being upfront with you, is the forest is very different on the west side of the state. Very, very different from Central East. I'll say the communities are also very different, no offense, but they are, right? And so as we develop this plan, we're going to need a lot of bringing in ecologists and scientists looking back 100 years ago. What did the forest look like before us? Several hundred years, you were here. And what's it likely to look like with climate change? We're also going to need to be doing all that community stakeholders. People don't like trees being cut. They don't understand what forest management and forest health looks like from a science ecological perspective. The third thing is wildfire resilience and making our communities more resilient. We launched an effort called Wildfire Ready Neighbors. We did this 2 years ago. We started as a pilot and we secured more funding through the legislature. We launched it now in 9 counties. It is not in Clark County. I would like to bring it to Clark County. We need the funding for Clark County, and that is part of this work around the $25 million coming back to us and keeping that funding, because that will help. Every single one of you may go home and already go on the web and find out how to create that defensible space around your home. As I say, we all learned in COVID how to create defensible space around our bodies. 6 feet, please, right? It's really easy. You need to now do that for your homes. 6 to 10 feet, please, right? Help create that, and you can literally stop a fire coming to your home. I've seen it with my own eyes in some of the worst, fastest moving fires where homes were completely protected because they took that action.
So, sorry to interrupt you all, but we got to move on to our last question here. Thank you.
Oh wow, that's a lot of pressure. Will, thank you, and Columbian, excellent job. And Hilary, Mark, Michael, Scott, John, I mean, incredible, super impressive. I'm a neighbor from down in Oregon. Spent the last 7 years in the Eagle Creek Fire Perimeter documenting wildlife time lapse. And then the 2020 fire, Labor Day fires, 2,000 foot deep river wind, ignited power lines, burned up friends' houses. A friend of mine died, another friend died a couple of years later after that fire. We had a mass urban conflagration. And so I'm deeply grateful to each and every one of you for the way that you've articulated the problem and the solution to the problem, and that we can all help you all and help each other before fire comes. I think that is the core takeaway that I heard. I just wanted to ask you in that regard, I have spent the last 5 years working on a documentary, spent a ton of time with Jack Cohen. He was a hard edit, right? How do we bring Jack into people's lives, And I didn't know how scalable, frankly, it was until I spent time in burned up communities in California and folks who don't want it ever to happen again. And they're dealing, they're scaling up assessments. So I'm curious, is there currently a program, fire marshals, DNR, where people can get on the phone and say, help me prioritize, is it the junipers that burn at 800 degrees and crack my windows? Is it the bark mulch that connects fences? How can we, really support people to make this cool, easy, neighbor to neighbor? What are you most excited about motivating people? That's what I'm super interested in. Thank you.
Great question. First of all, you clearly were great in class because you listened to everything that was said there. So, I'm a true believer that people, when they're given the resource and the information, they will take the power to take care of themselves and their neighbors. That we've seen it in so many contexts, and especially when it's like threatening, like wildfire. We launched an effort called Wildfire Ready Neighbors. And I urge you guys to write this down. We had lots of programs, like local fire districts were doing things, team were doing things, we had FireWise. It was all wonderful work. But we brought it into one program called Wildfire Ready Neighbors. And the goal was to go county by county to actually engage our fire districts, our nonprofit organizations, our churches, our schools, our conservation districts, our EMT, our police, everyone in helping make their home and their neighborhood and their entire county more fire resilient. The Wildfire Ready Neighbors program, it's on a website. I will be frank, we're working to get it brought to Clark County. We had to start with the counties that were most at risk, that had the highest risk. Not only are they losing their insurance, but they are literally on the fire's edge every single year. And we started in Klickitat County, Kittitas County, Yakima County, Chelan County, Okanagan County, Spokane County. We've gotten to come to Stevens County. We have Pierce County, Thurston County, and Mason. I know, Mason County. And I will tell you, I think Lewis County and Clark County and Snohomish County and Whatcom County are 4 that have to be there as well. For all the reasons we talked about, it's really that I-5 corridor literally that we saw in 2021 be challenged. It doesn't mean you can't take action already. So what that does is you go online, you can get the information about what to do around your home. What our wonderful community resilience officer does is I give out his number to all of you. And then he now, instead of working 16 hours on the fire line, he's going to work 16 hours on the phone line and your home line. And he will go in, if you've ever had like an energy assessment audit of your home, or you get your house assessed when you're going to buy it, or exactly, it is earth-shattering. And what happens is they will walk through your entire home, and we actually partner with communities or organizations like the Latino Community Fund and communities where they largely Spanish is their main language. And we're teaching and we could actually do this since I can't spread him too thin, where we can actually teach firefighters, we can teach, which they already know, but we can teach different organizations to be able to go home by home. And we have a form where they actually will give you a home assessment, page by page by page. Some are going to be costly, like they might tell you to replace your roof, right? Shingle shake roofs aren't the best for fire, but others are really low cost, easy to do, and maintenance, like spring cleaning work. And we can give that to you, and then you can literally go down and grade yourself. And what's so great is it's so simple that a 9-year-old child could be able to point this out and help every single home and neighborhood get fire resilient.
How great was this panel?